Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to your early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum here with some words of wisdom to start your day off well. And it's still pitch black outside, so, well, I guess there's a little bit of dawn coming. We'll get there. We'll get there. A new day dawns. A new day, a new opportunity, a new beginning. And what would you like to have be different today? We have a card that will feed into that. We'll give it a minute for some of you to join me, and then we'll do some tapping. I had to grab a drink here quick. Hang on. Hold, please. There. Ooh, and I match my cup. My Believe cup. My Believe everywhere. I love Believe. Good morning, Nancy. Welcome, welcome. Glad you are here. Looks like two people are here. There's Joniel. Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Glad you guys are here. Get our practical rebels in the house. Get things rolling. Get some good energy rolling around among us and then beyond us. So, good morning, Carolyn. Welcome. Glad you are here. Hope everybody's off to a good start today. I managed to remember to set my alarm, so here we are, timely. Gotta love it. So let us start with some tapping and some breath. I was doing some breathing this morning, deep breath, and yes, I keep breathing most of the time. But it was interesting to me how much deeper my breath was. I had done a little bit of breath work yesterday, and I think that kind of opened things up to flow a little better. So in through the nose, out through the mouth, letting your shoulders drop, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Thank you for the hearts. Very pretty. In through the nose. Hold at the top. Out through the mouth. Allowing yourself to settle into right here, right now. Good morning, Maureen. Glad you are here. Welcome. Everybody's starting to roll in. This is good. We have a really useful card today. A card that pays homage to the past, which can be so important. I never remember whose quote it is, but those who basically don't pay attention to the past are doomed to repeat it. Good morning, Gwen. Welcome. Glad you're here. Practical rebels all over the place. This is good. Our card deck for today is Colette Baron Reed, the Spirit Animal Pocket Oracle deck. And today we've had quite a few lately. Let's see, we've had Bee. I'm trying to remember who else we had. I had Bee sitting on my desk for quite some time. Today we have Elephant. Oh, and interesting, much more obvious looking at it on screen that it's an elephant. When I looked at the card itself, it took me a bit to orient to what I was looking at because it almost looked like eagle's wings, the ears. So, Elephant spirit, learn from the past. Learn from the past. And again, this is a pocket guide, so it's itty bitty and the writing is teeny tiny. So if I'm squinting and sounding like I'm 100 years old, that's why. And the card came out oriented this way, not this way. But I'm going to read both. We'll start with this. Elephant spirit, learn from the past. Take a breath. Opening to the lessons. Oracle message. Although we often wish we could leave the past behind, Elephant Spirit reminds us that memory matters. We must respect the wisdom of the elders who hand down to us traditions they have shaped to express our connection to each other and respect for the community. What has come before informs what we are experiencing today, and we must never forget our legacy of strength and dignity. Elephant Spirit appears with the message that we are to acknowledge that which came before and learn from it. Again, we're doomed to repeat history if we don't learn the lessons that go along with the mistakes we've made in the past. Mistakes in quote, because it's all part of the path, right? All of us are memory-based creatures, and we must revisit the past to understand where we are and where we are going. They're reference points. Those things that occurred prior are reference points. The stories of events you experienced, the stories in our collective memory, and the stories of relationships you have had can be told many ways. What story will you tell? We can take a particular story and tell it in multiple ways. We can tell it from the perspective of here are the good things that happened in this story. We can tell it from the perspective of these are the awful things that happened in this story. We can tell it from the perspective of these are the things we've learned from going through this particular experience. Which do we choose? Which do we choose? Elephant Spirit is here to encourage you to make it one that stirs in you a sense of power and dignity. For you have honored yourself by choosing to learn from your past. Spirit rejoices at your willingness to learn and grow. Hear that? Good morning, Mel. Welcome. Glad you're here. Spirit rejoices at your willingness to learn and grow. So when we just dump it and we don't mine it for what we can learn from it, again, I think there's a loss on our part. There's a loss on our part. And sometimes, how many times as a psychologist and coach have I heard someone say, and how many times have I said myself, why does this keep happening to me? The answer is because we haven't learned the lesson yet. So it repeats, trying to make the point to get us to understand what's there. So now, if the card had come out this way, which it did not, but I like reading this part anyway, the protection message. Are you feeling uncomfortable with a tradition, custom, or familiar behavior that no longer fits who you are? I would certainly say many of us have up-leveled our ability to call in divine right timing and divine right order. So the old patterns, whatever our old patterns were, I'm at the whim of the universe, or poor me, all these bad things happened to me, or all that stuff that we had to cast off in order to move into accepting divine right timing and divine right order. Those are circumstances where we've demonstrated our willingness to let go of what's no longer working and step into something that suits the times and ourselves better. Let's see, where are we here? Do you wish the past could be erased so that it could no longer cause you a moment's pain? Elephant Spirit is here to encourage you to write a different story and alter the traditions in ways that acknowledge that we all evolve, for a transformation is our nature. We are not rigid beings that stay locked in a particular way of being. Even people who seem that way. Thank you, Gwen, for posting that. Even people who seem that way, the ones who are most reluctant to change happens anyway. Look at their maturation process. They go from being an infant to a toddler to a young child to an older child to a young adult to an older adult to a sage. Some of us get to sage. Some of us just turn old. Which do you choose? Which do you choose? There we go. Realizing that, yes, that realization that you've been codependent, that's what opens the door for interdependence. We're certainly not, we've over-glorified independence. We can live by ourselves, operate by ourselves, never have to ask anybody for anything. That's not human beings. We are herd animals. We can have sovereignty within ourselves, but still interrelate to those around us. Absolutely. Elephant Spirit calls you not to be selective in your memory, because ignoring the good or the bad will prevent you from growing your wisdom and strength. Build on the best of the past, learn from the worst, and walk into the future with dignity, accompanied by Elephant Spirit, who remembers the truth and honors your strength and wisdom. So let's practice a little bit right now. I want you to think about something you've heard yourself say over and over and over again. What story do you keep telling yourself about something? And I'm going to give you a couple of ways to maybe tap something if your brain is fighting you on pulling something up. For those of you who are divorced, what's the story you tell about your divorce? For those of you who've lost a job, whether you were fired or laid off or your position was eliminated, whatever, what's the story you tell about that? For those of you who've had some kind of a tragedy, a house fire, a car accident, a fall that you broke bones, what's the story you tell about that? Now look at that story with elephant spirit, wisdom. Does that story serve you? The way you're telling it now, does it serve you in some way? How is it serving you? Is it allowing you to be the victim? Is it allowing you to not have to own responsibility for your behavior that maybe played into that particular circumstance? Ask yourself those hard questions. And you may be saying, why the hell would I want to do that? That's, 25 years ago I got divorced. Yes, but if you're telling yourself a story that doesn't allow you to hold your own responsibility for how you may have influenced that unfolding, whether it wasn't setting good boundaries, whether it was not honoring yourself, whether it was putting your partner's needs ahead of your own, whether it was going along to get along, owning your piece of what happened, because there's empowerment in owning that piece. Those pieces, oftentimes it's multiple, right? Then you can ask yourself, and what have I done differently since then? Or what would I do differently if this kind of a circumstances were to recur? Especially for the people who go over and over and over. The same thing keeps happening. Somewhere in there, they're not hanging on to the message, the learning opportunity that was in those difficulties. And again, there's my old saw about the pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity, and the optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. What are the opportunities in those past difficulties? Mine them, learn from them, bring them into your present so that what you do right here, right now, changes. Therefore leading to different outcomes, therefore leading to different feelings, different beliefs, etc. Keep challenging that old stuff that lurks and gets dragged along behind you. Poor me messages, whatever it is. Time to clean the slate. We've been doing that for quite some time now, haven't we? Letting go of what no longer serves us, including old stories. So what are you ready to let go of? What old stories do not serve you? What old stories that if you choose to rewrite them can serve you beautifully moving into this higher vibration that we're moving into? Lots to think about, hopefully lots to write about. For those of you who journal, these would be great questions to go back over and do some journaling on. See what pops up. Notice when you get uncomfortable. Notice when you want to walk away from the journaling. Oh, that's enough for today. I'll just close this up. Oftentimes, when we get to that, that's why Julia Cameron insists on 3 handwritten pages a day. Her morning pages, the value in doing them is you typically then get pushed past that point of, oh, that's enough for today. And just past that is where the nuggets of gold drop. So, have an awesome Sunday. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. Bye-bye.